Yeah, hurley! What's up, everybody? It's your boy Roman Puss here with the new One Piece Bounty Rush tier list. Now, as you guys can see, we have a bunch of characters here. Shout out to Alita for this tier list and making everything and keeping it up to date. Fantastic. Also, check out my Twitch, Twitter, Discord, and Reddit. I would love it if y'all could check that out real quick. But anyways, enough of that nonsense. Let's get into the actual tier list. I do want to go over kind of how I preemptive and set this as it is. Now, there's a lot of characters that are not useful in this game. So most of these are generally weaker and generally not going to get you very far in the game. I probably actually want to pick up Charlotte Oven. He's actually kind of useful, can be somewhat in certain circumstances. So there are a couple of ones that I'll actually throw up here. But for the most part, a lot of these units aren't that good anymore and don't really do that well. And generally are going to get you one shot or be useless. So kind of some things that I'm going to leave out of these. If you want to go through and look at these characters, I can kind of scroll through slower, but if you have these, I generally would not recommend using them, as they most of the time will not do so well for you in the game. They can do some things sometimes, but most of the time they'll be weaker and overall. So I'm kind of going to go over the top units, the top levels, and we're going to go from there. So everyone's just kind of lined up. I'll put them in order as best as possible, and we'll go from there. So I kind of pulled out all these movie units, don't know why, just kind of already had that set, so let's dive into it. Guild Tesoro, honestly, can be decent, especially he can whop out a good chunk of damage. He's kind of on the lower end, though, because he doesn't have a good means of getting a gold effect on people, especially with Gear 5 Luffy being a thing now. So overall, he's not that great anymore. Actually, I'm probably moving down to B. Shiki, actually still pretty solid. A lot of people like to use Shanks, a lot of people like to use Roger, and he has an ability that can do 70% of their health in one hit. So if you can just weaken them down to 70%, Shiki has the ability to one-shot Shanks and Roger, which are very prevalent in the meta. Even now, even with Gear 5. Gear 5 is going to be the most relevant, but you can still hit him for a good 40% of Gear 5's HP. So keep in mind, Shiki is actually pretty relevant. I'm actually going to put him up in SS. Still very strong, can be very tanky, would recommend building a full HP defense. Boa, probably going to lower her down, honestly. She's actually pretty strong. She could be annoying, but I don't think she's not going to be able to, like, she can probably knock back Luffy and knock him out of the flag and then start taking it. So she has that going for her. But for the most part, she doesn't have a good means of fighting Luffy, and you'll have to watch out for that and be careful with that. Douglas Bullet actually can hit pretty hard. I'll be honest, he's actually probably up there. Probably next to Boa because he can get destroyed. He does have a good amount of damage reduction, but I think a lot of people just don't have him, so a lot of people don't really use him, so that's a thing. Nami, Film Red Nami, I'll throw her up there with Shiki just because she has the ability to run. She can turn invisible, go on the map, and kind of run around, and actually does serve a purpose when it comes to taking flags. Now, if there's a Gear 5 standing on every flag, she's going to be completely irrelevant and can't do anything. She can't shock them. She can't do anything. So she's very not useful when it comes to actually combat, but when it comes to taking flags, she's very sneaky. So when you're dealing with like regular like solo queue teammates, she's actually very good at thriving on that. Beckman, pretty useful, but still not that tanky, and Gear 5 is immune to status effects, and he thrives off status effects, kind of just like Tesoro, so that's where their issue runs into. The Boa, you could say, does thrive off status effects, but she just has a little extra when she can't status effect someone. Yasop, kind of right up there. He has the ability to take away people's ability to take flags, but it doesn't really do that much, and I don't think Yasop's that good, so honestly, I'm going to leave him here. I might actually move him down to the bottom, honestly, because Yasop, like, I think Beckman's actually more useful than Yasop sometimes. He does have the perfect dodge percentage damage, which can actually hurt. I might actually, because of that dodge, I might actually keep him up here with Beckman. Anyways, Red Uta, I would say still good, but definitely weaker because of Gear 5 being unable to be status affected. Her skill 2 does reduce defense and hits really hard, so if she can hit her skill 2 on the Gear 5, the reason I'm bringing up Gear 5 so much in this video is because that's generally what you're going to be playing against. Everyone's summoned for him, tried to summon for him, tried to get him, everyone's re-rolling to get him. You're going to be fighting a lot of them. At least 2 to 3 will be in the game at a time between both teams, so kind of hope you have them on the team, so just something to watch out for as you're fighting that. But she is really good against fighting. She can one-shot a Film Red Shanks, and anyone who could be status affected, she'll generally one-shot with her skill 1 ability, and you can just basic attack them down and kill them, so something to take note of. This Whitebeard, I do want to leave down here. The people in the C tier are like, can do damage, but generally, like, you can win with them and get a decent amount of wins, but you also might be useless on them as well, so something to take note of. Blackbeard, I think we're actually going to see a rise in Blackbeard. He actually can whop out a good amount of damage. After his buffs, he has the ability to keep healing. He has a good amount of damage reduction. He actually does a lot of damage towards Devil Fruit users. So fighting Gear 5s is going to be phenomenal for him. Plus, he has the ability to just pull people off flag. So people like King, people like Gear 5 Luffy, people who have like all that stuff that prevent them from being knocked off flags, he can just pull them. When you pull them, no one has immunity to straight up pull besides perfect dodging. So really, Blackbeard's actually really solid. I'm going to leave him here. Maybe the way balance comes out, I might move him down to SS. He might be like right where Uta is potentially. He is kind of circumstantial, but yeah, this might be actually overkill. Actually, I'm gonna put him like right next to Uta. Honestly, that seems a little more fair before I get overzealous. Garp, I think is gonna kind of come back up here. Garp can be very useful. No, just kidding, just kidding. With all the status effects, Garp's just not going to be that useful. He's like there. He has the ability, he has the increased damage towards captains, he has people who have boosted parameters, he has a bunch of buffs that go towards that. So anyone who's a captain, anyone who has boosted parameters, he thrives against, which is pretty much what Gear 5 Luffy is, Roger, Shanks, all that stuff. So he can kind of do things, but if you're off your flag, you're not going to be that great. Odin, I'll probably throw him up here. Odin kind of can thrive. He's very killable though. He's not what he once was. He's much easier to kill, and he really doesn't have that much going for him. So I'm just going to throw him here. He's all right. It's kind of alright. Captain Kidd, I think, is going to get kind of more of a buff and be a little more useful. Homeboy has a good amount of damage reduction, which is fantastic. Damage reduction is what is useful against Gear 5, so that's what you're going to want to go for. Kidd is going to be excellent for that, as well as the percent damage that he does off his skill 2, so he can kind of attack and kind of start hitting Luffy, the Gear 5 Luffy, whenever he wants. This Bounty Fest Luffy, I kind of want to just throw him up here just because he can do percentage damage and can hurt people. It's just something I wanted to take note of. Jack, honestly, if you can get a good skill 1 off and get your attack stacked, you'll be able to hurt Gear 5 Luffy because you'll be able to hit 70% attack buff to his 70% defense buff, so you're still going to be able to do damage to him. So just one thing to take note of, and you can also take away Gear 5's abilities with your Mammoth form, and yeah, your skill 2 actually can do a good amount of damage as well, so take that into note. So Jack is actually pretty solid. Like, decent unit, but also very killable as well. Jozu, honestly, surprised I haven't seen more Jozus. I think he'll actually be pretty useful when fighting Goofy, but he's also very weak against someone like Law, or Zoro has the ability to take away his status effects. So things to be careful of when you're in the meta is the most prevalent people that you're going to be fighting against, like the most prominent is actually the word I'm looking for, is going to be Shanks, Luffy, Gear 5 Luffy, EX Luffy, the blue one, Zoro, EX Onigashima Raid Zoro. We have them down here. So I have them down here. You're going to be noting about them somewhere. Here's the Shanks, his film word Shanks. And then you have Raid Zoro is somewhere here as well. I can't find him at the moment right here. Yes, I'm blind. Ashura Zoro is the correct term I'm looking for. Things to watch out for. Shinobu, wanted to throw here just for fun because I throw it in the game. If you haven't seen my video on her, I think you should go check it out. I actually did it on stream, so there's a little short on that. She's actually kind of fun, and honestly, might actually throw her above the Nami, maybe. You can fight that however you want. Honestly, I moved these both down. I think they're both a little bit lower than that. Yeah, so they should be there. Next up, EX Blue Kaido. He can be either a monster and be unstoppable or not. Gear 5 kind of demolishes him. I honestly think he's kind of knocked down. He was a little bit better. If you don't have the right tools to deal with him, if basically people who ignore defense, if you have that, or Claw, like Kid Law has the ability to ignore defense and just take the flag while he's on it. So Kid Law kind of destroys him and kind of knocks him down a peg, which is truly unfortunate, but you still have the 150% cap flag thing, which actually helps you out a lot. So Kaido, EX Blue, Defender Kaido, still pretty solid. Roger, honestly, I think is in a much better state. He's not crazy. He's probably better than these two, but he's not what he once was. So Roger's still a phenomenal unit, still can stack up his Kamusaris, and he reduces people's defense. So he actually, if he can sit there and stack up his Kamusaris, his skill 1, and hit the Gear 5 Luffys and or defenders in general, he'll start hurting and be very painful and whatnot. Luffy, this Luffy, he's like probably still up here. He might actually be up here. I don't actually know if I'd put him. He's probably tied with Roger. Still very easy to kill. They're very close. They were always very similar in terms of strength and whatnot and like kill ability. Roger was the go-to to fight this Luffy whenever that Luffy came out and whatnot. So just be careful of that. Next up, this Akainu feels honestly kind of terrible to play. He doesn't do good against Luffy. He doesn't do good against very many people anymore because everyone has the ability to remove his state, or everyone like has multi-hits, or everyone has immunity to status effects. So status effects, applying those is what he thrives off of. So something to be careful of. Honestly, I think he's going to be kind of down here. This might be too low. I feel like I have Jozu and Kid a little too high. Yeah, I'm going to put these actually down here because they're like solid units, but I don't know if I would say they're that great. Blackbeard might actually be above them. I'm actually going to move these down here. A little rearrangement because they seem like they kind of fit together in terms of that. Blackbeard better than Jack, though, I think. Yeah, I'm going to put Blackbeard up here. Honestly, the EXs are kind of insane. Odin's probably better than these guys. Yeah. I think that's better. I think that fits a little better. Uta's potentially probably up here. Uta's actually pretty still a phenomenal unit. So there's going to be a little rearranging as we're going on. So just something to watch out for. Diamante, honestly, I think is actually thriving as a unit. I'm going to put him... Would I say Diamante's better than these? Potentially. When fighting these, not necessarily, because Diamante can't particularly kill these two, this Kaido and this Blackbeard, but Diamante can also like hurt pretty hard. I'm going to try and speed it up so I don't actually take too much time. Treble, not as good as he once was. I'm going to kind of put him on the lower end. He's actually kind of down here. He can still do very well, but he's not that great as much as he once was. King can still be obnoxious, still has the percentage damage, still is kind of a crazy, outrageous runner. Things to watch out for. EX Olin, I think, is kind of back. The Kid Law unit kind of pushed her out of the meta for a little bit, but she was still playable-ish. Whereas now there's a lot less Kid Laws and there's a lot more Gear 4 Luffys, which she can do just fine against the Gear 4 Luffy. So she does not struggle against them. She does just fine. Kaido, I'm going to throw Kaido up here. I'm going to throw Kaido actually next to King. We're still really good runners. Top of the meta. Definitely would recommend using them. They're still viable, still can thrive, and beat everyone down. Zoro, I'm going to throw Zoro right here next to it. There's a lot of people that can kill Zoro. He's very easy. That's the only reason I'm going to put him below Olin. But Zoro can do very well against Gear 5. So that's kind of the main thing that holds him. So Zoro's kind of the balancer between Shanks and Gear 5 Luffy. Without him, you don't have as good of answers besides Olin. I mean, honestly, Olin's probably like just as good at fighting those two. But Olin can charge flags and defend and whatnot, whereas Zoro doesn't offer too much else besides that. So Olin can kind of fight Gear 5 Luffy, fight Shanks, but she can also charge flags and kind of take flags, whereas Zoro just kind of fights people. So that's the only reason I'm going to put Olin above him. And I'm trying to not be biased. Who's Who kind of has the circumstance of Diamante. They're both very meant to counter like what the meta is right now. So Who's Who can actually hit pretty hard. Honestly, yeah, I don't know. Gear 5 actually struggles to kill Who's Who if he misses his skill 2, the big boom, the Bajrang gun. That one, if he misses that skill, Who's Who becomes a lot harder to kill because the Luffy generally just heals, because Who's Who has a bunch of damage reduction towards Straw Hat Pirates and has damage increase and has heals and just things to watch out for when you're playing that. This Yamato, I think, is really not that good anymore. If she can't status affect anyone, she's not good at all. She doesn't have heals, and if she doesn't have status effects, she doesn't offer that much raw damage. It's all based off her status effects. She's kind of in the same boat as Akainu. Where is Akainu? I feel like I should put Akainu actually down here in terms of where the meta's at, because Akainu can hit hard, but he doesn't hit that hard. So I'm actually going to put him down here. I think I'd put these two next to each other because they're both based off status effects. So really, these two are kind of in the same boat. They do the same thing just in different ways. Yeah, just different methods to do the same thing. She frostbites, he incinerates, and that's where all their damage comes from. Hody Jones, pretty solid runner. A lot of people take away his enhanced state. Honestly, would I put him above all these other people? He has large damage against Devil Fruit users. There's a bunch of Devil Fruit users. But if you're not against a Devil Fruit user, you're a lot weaker. So something to be careful of when you're playing. Bounty Fest Killer, this blue attacker, I think it's actually a really, really good unit. And I would recommend using him. I'm actually going to move these two down here, kind of. They're good, but they're not crazy good as much anymore. So might move Shiki down, and Kid, it's like, all right. These ones just seem like they're not as high tier. Killer, I think, kind of fits down here a little bit. He's a good attacker. I put him next to Jack. Seems good. This area seems a little bit better and more balanced for Killer. He has good ways of removing status effect whenever he crits. He crits a lot, and he heals a lot from getting his crits. I still need to max him out, but I think he's going to be a phenomenal unit. Very enjoyable unit as well. Does solidly, but is not insane in the meta. So be careful of that. Gear 5 Luffy. Sorry, I'm going to make you guys wait for that one. Charlotte Cracker, still very good, can beat people with damage reduction. So like Olin's, he's your go-to counter for this EX Olin. He destroys her. It is very one-sided if you play it correctly, so can do that. But if you're fighting Gear 5 Luffy, you're not going to be able to do too much because Gear 5 Luffy can just thrive. So, and he's full defense buff, and yeah, Charlotte Cracker's not. And Luffy does status effect, but it depends if the Luffy's dumb enough to actually status effect you to give you the attack buff. So, and you have color disadvantage against the Gear 5 Luffy, so watch out for that. And Shanks and Zoro, if he gets his color changed, you'll struggle against. So things to be careful of. Brule, I want to throw her. She's just going to stay here down on the bottom. Brule's like whatever. EX Kid Law, phenomenal unit. Still probably going to throw him up here. Still ignores defense. Still ignores damage reduction. Still serves very good purposes because he can take the flag whenever he wants, however he wants. So there's only one stopper to him, and the only thing that balances him out is Gear 5 Luffy. Probably put him, honestly, above Zoro. Would I put him above Big Mom? Actually, probably. I probably actually have to put him above Big Mom. He's still a phenomenal unit, does whatever he wants. He has 2 health bars. It's kind of crazy. The unit has significantly dwindled because of the Gear 5 Luffy. Neptune, I actually think that my Hody's a little bit too high. We're going to move Hody, just seems a little bit too crazy here. That seems a little ambitious to have him up in SS+. So Neptune and Hody, I think, are like solid. They're just very good against Devil Fruit users, but if they're fighting a non-Devil Fruit user, then they're really bad. It feels really bad. Then their damage like diminishes in all places. Nami probably still does good against Luffy. If you can get your attack stacks and then go attack Luffy, she does have an ability that ignores defense. I think she's actually a phenomenal unit. I'm put her up with Uta because she is status effect dependent. So if she cannot status effect, she's going to be very weak. And you need to remember when you're playing her, you have to play her like a sniper. You do not play her as a like go in and attack type person. Raid Usopp in the current meta, honestly, I think he might be better. I'm actually move these both up here. They're actually very good units. Probably above these two though. They're definitely above these two. Yeah. Nami and Usopp, honestly, I don't care. Since all the waifu chasers are going to get mad at me, I'm just going to put him above Usopp. Usopp's actually very obnoxious because he has the ability to take flags while the enemies are on it and just put people to sleep, and it's a very, very, very short cooldown. So there's something to be wary of when you're doing that and playing that out. So just watch out for that. Next up is Oni Robin. I wish she was better. Something about her is just not there. I don't know. I'm gonna put her she's kind of here with, yeah, probably with Boa, probably above these units, probably above Jozu, somewhere right next to Killer. Yeah, for blue attackers, they're actually both blue attackers. I think Killer's probably a little bit better, honestly, especially in terms of fighting like runners, because he has the ability to remove cap flags, so people can't take flags when he actually inflicts and crits them, whereas she kind of just does raw damage to runners. I think Killer's kind of better, especially in terms of fighting King. So that is that. Oni Brook. Very solid unit. Still, if he can just get his defense stacks, he just needs to be able to freeze people so he can get his defense stacks. If he can do that, he'll be solid. The more I'm looking at it, the more I almost feel like Hody and Neptune might need to go down. I don't know. They're still very good units. It just depends on the matchups and if they are against Devil Fruit users. But I still think Brook might be better than them. Brook can get on his flag and be 80% or higher, he'll be a phenomenal unit. So I'll throw him right there. Yeah, he's pretty good. He has a 70% defense stack as well. Jinbei, falling off. This Jinbei, I love him, but he is just not it anymore so much. He actually is a very good unit. He's very good against a lot of units. It's just everyone having a defense buff. So anyone who has defense buffs, he's not going to be able to hurt. And anyone who's not a Devil Fruit user is kind of like the same boat. Honestly, I'm going to put all these fishmen go together in Merfolk. I know Neptune's a Merfolk, so something to keep an eye on. Zephyr, much better. He's actually top of the meta now that he does a lot better. He does fantastic against Gear 5. It's just, if he's got to be careful for Onigashima Zoro. So just don't fight Zoro with your skills because Zoro will remove it, because Zoro's red and you are green and he will demolish you, so watch out for that. Blue Shanks, not very good unit. I'm just going to put him down there. He doesn't take flags. Red Shanks is still very useful. I'm going to put him up here. I think these two, honestly the Zoro and the Olin are more useful than the Shanks, so I'm going to put them there. Potentially Kaido, he does flat damage and potentially could push the Luffy off the flag. That's debatable. I think I'll put the Shanks up. Shanks still does lots of damage. It's still very useful. It's very strong. Red Runner Yamato, she's alright. I feel like she's in the same boat as Odin. She's probably a little bit better than Odin. I don't even know, actually. They're both not that great anymore. Queen Sama, I'm going to throw. He's just chilling here. Like Usopp, yeah, and he's kind of good. Pepe, I'm going to throw him a little bit higher. He does a good amount of damage. He can actually fight people. The only trouble he runs into is staying on the flag. If he had knockback to knockdown, he would be an absolute monster. Marco, Everyone has status effects now. That's kind of what ruined him. But I think I'm going to put him down here. Marco's still viable, can play, but still not that great. Ulti, if you're against attackers, you just got to be against attackers, and you got to be careful with like Shanks. It's just like trouble and stuff to run into. So these two, I say Pepe's kind of still going to be thriving more in the meta. Ulti's going to be a little bit not as good. Marco might actually be up here with them. Probably put him up here. Yeah, Ulti, because she's not going to be able to fight Gear 5 like at all. Prospero, Charlotte Prospero, very circumstantial, very based off status effects. I'm going to put him here with the status effectors, kind of, because Prospero, I think, can be better. Prospero can one-shot and guaranteed one-shot people if he can status effect them. So, basically, it's a free win. Raizo, going to leave him down here because he's bad. Hyogoro, leave him down here because he's not that great. But they're still, like, playable. That's why I'm going to leave him here. Putting Hakuba, pretty solid unit. He has the stuns. He doesn't have a good ways of pushing people off the flags. It's the only thing he runs into. So, I'm going to kind of put him down here. Probably about right there. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Hakuba seems solid right there. Let's see. Dan Xinjiao, I think solid unit. Probably top of here. Might throw Dan Xinjiao. No one has him, though. No one plays him. I don't know. Just he has damage reduction. He seems solid. Silva Mask is kind of the same thing as Film Red Nami. I'm going to put them right next to each other. They can just go invis and start stinking around taking flags, so it actually comes in very handy. Vista, he's like playable. I should probably move this Shanks up. I feel like I'm actually kind of shaming him a little bit much. Like, he can do a good chunk of damage and can come in clutch occasionally. So, I'll leave him. I'll bring him up there. Sorry. Apologies. Bellamy, or whatever his name is. Solid runner. Defense stacks. Can push people off the flag. He doesn't have to knock them back, but he does knock back as well, and he can jump gaps. So, very useful. Drake, the only reason I put Drake up here, and it's semi-useful, is because he can ignore defense with one of his skills. That's literally it. Caesar, percentage damage, can kind of do things with that. I'm just going to put him here too. I feel like I'm disrespecting Tesoro a little bit much. I'm going to bump him up. So, Caesar, put him right there. EX, Blue Big Mom, I'm going to actually leave her down here. She's still kind of bad. Everyone can remove her status effect state. Blue Doflamingo, probably in this vicinity. Yeah, seems right here. He's still playable, still can do damage, still can hurt. So you just gotta be careful with how you're taking your matchups and who's running at you and when you're fighting. So remember, when you're lower health, you do more damage, but be careful, don't die. So Whole Cake Island Brook, I think, kind of fits in this boat. He doesn't really have means to push people off flags. So if he can status effect people, it's actually really clutch. And he also removes attack buffs. Fun fact for you. So that's useful too. Monet, actually pretty solid. She can freeze. She actually has a good amount of damage reduction, and she can kind of stall people out, and she can stop Luffy from knocking her back because she has her wall, and she can hide behind her wall. So it's actually very useful. So if you can just keep hitting the Luffy and stagger him, and you keep getting your wall back, I think she's actually very useful. So I'm gonna throw her up there. She's actually pretty strong. Bounty Fest, Whole Cake Island Nami has the damage reduction. If she can be on her flag, but the issue is knockbacks. So if she can get that like taken away from her, I'm gonna actually kind of throw her down here. I would say. Don't overestimate the way left to right. It doesn't matter too much, but I mean, I think in my opinion it matters a little bit. This pudding, kind of just gonna throw her here. She actually do a good amount of damage, but just be careful with that. Izo's kind of the same boat. Just throw him down there. Rayleigh seems to be actually pretty decent. It has that knockback. Luffy is not immune to knockbacks. I'm gonna kind of throw him. Rayleigh's definitely probably up here. Plus he does percentage damage, so Rayleigh can actually serve a purpose, especially if you're really good at perfect dodging. You probably will be very useful. So something to take note of. Judge, I'm gonna leave him down here. He's solid. He's like probably right next to Queen, honestly, so that's fine. Sugar, kind of playable, but she's not gonna be thriving. I'm gonna leave her there. Bluta, solid unit. The only issue is people who ignore damage reduction, which is this guy right here, Film Red Shanks. So watch out for him. Otherwise, she's a phenomenal unit. She can be immune to status effects. She has good amount of damage. She can fight whoever. She can kind of hold against Claw. She has a lot going for her. I think she's phenomenal. So actually excellent unit. Very well designed defender. Oven, Charlotte Oven, I'm going to put him right there. Pell, still kind of bad. Bounty Fest Law, kind of bad. I think can play the game a little bit though, because he can actually do a little bit of damage and whatnot. So, and last but not least, your boy Gear 5. I think we all knew this. He's a phenomenal unit. He actually can run, he can attack. You got, like, everyone expects him to be the best attacker, best runner, best defender, but like he does all three. I would say he's like an 8.5 to 9 out of 10 on every role. Like, you have people like Kid Law. Like, Kid Law, can they defend pretty well? Yeah. Can they attack pretty well? Decently. And then can they run pretty well? Yeah, decently. But like, Luffy kind of does all three just as well. Honestly, he's not that great at defending because he can be knocked back. So Olin, phenomenal defender, but like all right runner. And then you have Zoro's just pure attacker. Like Uta actually can do good damage and can yeah, you have different things for different people. And so Luffy does like all three roles solidly. So honestly, he's probably like a 9.5 defender, because I feel like there's other people who are like kind of better at defending than him. Honestly, I would say Olin's a better like strict defender than he is, depending on who you're fighting. But I may digress. So anyways, attacker, he can still attack. He's like a solid like 7.5 actually of an attacker, and he's probably like a good like 6 out of 10 for a runner. So he doesn't have too many things crazy going for him as a runner, but it's still pretty useful. All these other units, remember, probably wouldn't recommend playing them, but you can level them up for support. So that's just something I want to end with as well. I would say this is my tier list. Remember, these characters in the top 10 are probably the most relevant. Actually, these top 3 tiers, honestly. I might have Who's Who and Diamante a little bit too high, but honestly, they both do very well against a good chunk of these units up top. Just no one has them, so no one plays them. So just something to be careful of and watch out for. Watch out. This Nami can be a monster if she can shock. So just, it's all circumstantial. There's always one unit who specifically destroys another unit. And yeah. All right, you guys, this is the last minute edit that I wanted to kind of include because we did have the new Sanji that came out before the time of my recording. I wanted to throw him up here as